You know, they say comparison is the thief of joy, but we're going to do it anyway right here, coming up next on Riding with the Knicks. Welcome back to Riding with the Knicks. This is the channel where we talk about the team that we love, the New York Knicks, the season as it unfolds, and the deeper themes that we can pull out of the game, apply to our lives to become the best versions of ourselves. If you are here for the first time, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. If you like this video, if you like other videos, if you've seen some of my videos but you haven't hit subscribe yet, this is just a modest little YouTube channel on the road to 100 subscribers. And I would love it if you would join me on that road by simply hitting subscribe. I wanted to make this video in honor of RJ Barrett's play. He had a beautiful buzzer beater game winner in the Garden the other night. Maybe a little bit of luck there off the glass, but he's also been playing a lot better as of late, and it's nice to see the offense run through him. And so it got me thinking, where is he stacking up in this third year against other players who are shooting guards, who are small forwards? Like what are the player comparisons for RJ Barrett? That's the question. I picked out 3 player comparisons that I want to look at. We're going to look at a few stats in the first 3 years of those guys' careers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do player 1, player 2, player 3, and then let you know where RJ stacks up. And then at the end of the video, we're going to talk a little bit about what should we be learning from this? What can we pull out of this? How can we become the best versions of ourselves by simply watching a game that we love? Because that's what we're about over here at Riding with the Knicks. And no matter what, if they're up, if they're down, we're always going to be riding with the Knicks. So let's get right into it. The first player comparison that I picked is Kawhi Leonard. No, not because he's lefty. No, not because he's quiet, but because I think their games kind of resemble each other. And I wanted to look at what was Kawhi's first 3 years like, as far as minutes played, as far as points, as far as field goal percentage, and as far as rebounds. I'm not looking at steals. These 3 guys were all pretty similar in steals. But I wanted to look at where was Kawhi Leonard in the first 3 years of his career. So I got a little bit of cheat sheet right here, but Kawhi Leonard played, he played 28 minutes over the course of his first 3 years per game. He scored an average of 11 points. He had a 50% field goal percentage over those first 3 years. And he had about 5.7 rebounds per game. And so, not bad stats, not mind-boggling stats. Honestly, like, if we're real, I didn't even really know Kawhi Leonard in the early parts of his career. It wasn't until those San Antonio Spurs where he got to really blossom, because he wasn't the focus of the offense. He just got to be in his identity, in his role in the defensive end, and then grow into a playmaker, grow into a scorer. And that's got to be a theme of this video, is like, what are the situations around players that allow them to develop? And so Kawhi Leonard, he's the first player comparison. I think I see some of RJ Barrett in him as a personality, but then also as a player. Strong guy who can get to the rack. Kind of a quiet dude. I think RJ has more leadership qualities in him, can be more outspoken than Kawhi Leonard. But also, one thing that I love from RJ over this past summer is what we heard all the time was, like, he wants to be an elite defender. He wants to work on the defensive side of the ball. And that's where Kawhi really started. And so we're seeing that from RJ Barrett this year so far. And maybe his offense has suffered a little bit, but that might be because he was so defense focused over the offseason. And as you add a new part to your game, maybe it takes a while for the part that you were more comfortable with, and in RJ's perspective, the offensive side of the ball, to kind of come in and mesh and mix with his game. And so I think we need to give RJ a little credit, a lot of credit for the defensive side of the ball, but give him a little bit of time and working all the different parts of his game together. The guy's developing, and he's developing beautifully. And so that's the first player comparison. Let me know what you think about RJ and Kawhi Leonard. The next one I wanted to look at was Demar Derozan. Demar Derozan is having an amazing year. He's actually in his 13th NBA season. I didn't know that. For some reason, I felt like it was maybe more like 10 or 11, but 13th NBA season. And so and I think they have a similar game too. Kind of quiet guys, can get it done on the offensive end, play the same position. And so And he's having a breakout year, maybe his best year, an MVP-type caliber year in his 13th season. So what was he up to? What was Demar Derozan up to over his first 3 years? He played an average of 30 minutes per game, 30.4. He scored 14 points per game, 46% shooting, and 3.3 rebounds. So he had a little bit less percent shooting than Kawhi. He scored 3 more points per game, and he had about two rebounds less per game. So that's where DeMar DeRozan was. Let's jump right into, for the sake of time, let's jump right into the third comparison. Now, give me a break on this one, okay? I'm just throwing it out there as a reference point. I do not think that these two players, or that RJ will be this type of caliber player. Just take a deep breath and realize this is in here for comparison's sake. Let's look at Kobe Bryant. Now, Kobe Bryant, in his first 3 years, played on average of 26 minutes per game. So down from Kawhi's 21, down from DeMar DeRozan's 30. And part of that was because, Kobe came straight to the league. He didn't get a lot of minutes at all his first season. Those second 2 seasons were higher minutes per game, but average 26. 14.3 points per game, which was more than DeMar's 14 and more than Kawhi Leonard's 11. And his average was 43.6% shooting percentage, which was down from DeMar's 46 and down from Kawhi's 50. And then he had 3.4 rebounds per game. So those 3 guys were all around each other in their first 3 seasons. All around each other. Kobe, DeMar, Kawhi. It's the first 3 seasons of a guy's career. Do you see where we're going? Do you see where I'm going with this? Like, these players all went in different directions. Kawhi turned into a star out of nowhere. Kobe Bryant, there's an argument that he's the all-time great, if not on the Mount Rushmore. And then you've got DeMar DeRozan, who in his 13th season is having an MVP-type year. All right, we back. Woo! Hey, this is part of it on this channel. But yeah, so the first 3 seasons of a guy's career, like, these guys are developing. They're coming into the league. They've got skills. They're there for a reason, but they got to grow in the league. And so when you're in a pressure cooker like New York, like RJ's been, he's done amazingly well. And so let's talk about RJ's stats over his first 3 years. And I know that we're not all the way through this last season here, or the 3rd season for him, but this is where we are halfway through it, plus the first 2 seasons. RJ Barrett has averaged 32 minutes per game, which is the most out of any of those guys, but not by far. Kawhi Leonard was 28, remember, and DeMar DeRozan was 30. So Barrett has been 32 minutes. He's averaged 16 points, which is up from the 11, 14.3, and 14. He's a 42% shooting percentage, which is the lowest. But in his defense, the game has many more three-pointers involved in it now than when those guys were in their first 3 years. So maybe that has something to do with it. And he's got 5.4 rebounds per game. The only guy who had more than him was Kawhi Leonard at 5.7. And so I'm making these comparisons for a reason. Not to be the thief of joy, but to look at this guy. We drafted this man 3rd. And that might be some of you who are a little bit more astute out there might be saying, yeah, but those other guys weren't drafted number 3 in the draft. But let's go back then and let's look at the guys who got drafted in those drafts, all right? So maybe DeMar DeRozan and Kawhi Leonard and Kobe Bryant should have been drafted 3rd or higher, like RJ. But let's look at it. Let's shake it out, okay? So we had Kawhi Leonard's draft. He was drafted number 15. But you want to know who was drafted 3rd? Do you know? It was Enes Freedom, who we all know as Enes Kanter. So you pick Kawhi Leonard or Enes Kanter. All right, so yeah, Kawhi might have gone 15th, but he's better than the guy who went 3rd. Let's look at DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan went 9th. A lot of Knicks fans will know that because the Knicks picked 8th, and Steph Curry went 7th. So, whatever, that's for a different day. But he went 9th, but who went 3rd in that draft? DeMar DeRozan? James Harden. James Harden went 3rd. So maybe DeRozan should have gone higher, but maybe he went where he should have gone. And then finally, Kobe Bryant went 13th. There's reasons why that was, but Sharif Abdul-Rahim went 3rd. And so you might have a point to say, hey, yeah, these guys were lower in the draft, but they're all playing amazing ball right now, and Kobe's one of the all-time greats. And so I'm trying to hold RJ next to some of these guys. I'm trying to hold RJ in his first 3 seasons next to some of these guys. And I'm trying to say, what do the Knicks do? And what I'm saying is that the Knicks should have everybody, even if everybody is available in a trade, RJ should not be available in a trade. I think the Knicks, beyond that, I think the Knicks need to play their game through RJ. And I'm not being an overreactive, like an over-emotional, reactive Knicks fan by saying that, because he's had a few good games. No, I think he's showed progress. He's shown growth. He's shown he doesn't need to dominate the ball to dominate the game. He can get to the rack at will. He's becoming an even better defensive player. He's prioritizing that side of the ball. And he's in his 3rd season. He's our 3rd overall draft pick. Like, this is our guy. And he's 21 years old. He's 21 years old. And he can play alongside Quick. And he can play alongside Grimes. And he can play alongside Deuce when he comes in. He can play with Obi Toppin. Like he can play with Mitch. Like, this is actually the Knicks team. And we got to give credit where credit is due. We want to rip on Tibbs all the time for not playing the guys we want him to play. Hey, he's playing RJ Barrett big minutes and has done. Like, he sees who RJ Barrett is. And I'm not a Julius Randle hater. I want him to do well. I want him to be great. But, like, we need to start running this team through RJ Barrett. And so for me and for you, what should we take away from this scenario? Expectations. When people's expectations on you are like, it could really hinder you. It could really like stunt your growth when unrealistic expectations are on you. And I think that's sometimes how New York market is. And so where do you have unrealistic expectations on you? Where have you put unrealistic expectations on those around you? So expectations are something that we should be aware of in this. But also, like, we live in a microwave society. But the reality is that people continue to grow, and people continue to adapt, and people continue to bloom. Kawhi Leonard was not the Kawhi Leonard that got signed to the Clippers when he came into the league. Demar Derozan was not this MVP caliber guy when he came to the league. And even, yes, there were question marks around Kobe Bryant when he came to the league. And so let yourself develop. Have a goal that's out there. I want to be this, or I want to get here, or I want to accomplish this. Have those goals out there, but then let yourself get there. And when you don't get there, in a day or in a week or in a month or in a year, like, allow for the process to take place. Allow for yourself to develop into that role, so when you get there, it's sustainable. Look at people who have overnight success. Look at lottery winners. A lot of them end up poor again. Look at people who are one-hit wonders. They blow up, they're on the charts, and then they're gone again. Like, we don't want to be that, you and me. We want to have sustained success. We want to develop into a place of success that we can then sustain it. We want that for us. We want that for our community and for our families around us. And so have realistic expectations, have lofty goals, and let yourself get there in a way that once you're there, you can sustain it. And so my goal right now is to get to 100 subscribers. We're at 72. And so if you're watching this video still, do me a favor, leave a like, share the video with someone who you think would need to hear it. And of course, please hit that subscribe button. As always, this is Riding with the Knicks, and whether they're winning or whether they're losing, we will always be riding with the Knicks. Let's go, Knicks. I'll see you in the next video.